floor, which you want to hear again and again.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of the In Between Overs podcast. We're your host for the day's play. As always, I'm Taran.
And I'm Ishan.
Man, I hate runouts. Can we just figure out how to communicate properly between the wickets and just learn how to run properly? What the hell just happened in the last half an hour there?
Oh man, it's the biggest sin in cricket, right? You're getting run out, especially with only a few overs remaining in the day. Man, momentum swinging change at the end, but that's what Test cricket is. Ups and downs throughout the day, but all in all, that's Test cricket.
My goodness, India was on a roll. It looked like it was a great partnership about to blossom into an amazing partnership between Kohli and Jaiswal. And then you had that mix up. What were your raw emotions when you saw that happen? Because you told me you watched that live.
Oh my gosh, yes. Watching India's batting live, yeah. Initially, with the early wickets, it was kind of tough, but then, yeah, when you saw the partnership between Jaiswal and Kohli sort of blossom, it was that hope. And I'll be honest with you, just my opinion. Kohli looked amazing. He looked in touch. He was leaving balls, fourth, fifth stump, and he was basically toying with the batsman. There's a moment where Mitchell
With
Stark
the
gave him a
bowlers.
sorry, with the bowlers. Yeah. There's a couple of moments there where Mitchell Stark, pitched it up to him, fourth stump, and he let the ball go. And Mitchell Stark smiled at him, saying that, hey, like, usually you would have gotten that. And Kohli smiled back, basically implying not today. He was in touch, but then the run out really changed momentum. I know we'll talk about that specifically later on, but that's what Test cricket is, right? You can have a session go your way, but, the last half hour can really change the momentum of the Test match.
Yeah, we'll unpack that in further detail. So let's start with where the day started. So India got onto the field hoping to get Australia out quickly, especially because the new ball was only about 5 or so overs old. And Australia resumed around 300 and change for six. And, you know, we were talking about it too. That first hour is crucial. Get them out early so that they don't get into a total that is what you could consider a formidable total. But guess what happened? They ended up scoring a formidable total. I would say 474 on an Australian wicket is an amazing target or a score to put up. And India just couldn't find that breakthrough in that first hour. It looked like Smith and Cummins were dominating that session, especially Cummins.
Yeah, no, it was extremely disappointing from an Indian bowling perspective. For the day's play, you saw, Kohli speak to the squad in a very intimate huddle. You saw Rohit Sharma as well, obviously hyping them up about the importance of that first
Mhm.
hour of play. But it just seemed like, the bowlers, Siraj, Kashdeep, just were not performing as well as they could have. They were sloppy in the field as well. I think the first over of the play, there was about two or three extra runs based on sloppy fielding. And it just seemed like after the first few overs, there was a lull in the energy, and India was sort of on the back foot there. And that, I think, really set the tone for most of the day.
Yeah, they just couldn't bowl lines and lengths that kept the run flow in check. It's not that they were scoring fast, but they were scoring freely. Like it didn't seem like there was a lot of pressure on the batsman. Smith was doing his thing. He's completely back in form now, and India's got to watch out for him in the next three innings. He's looking like the Smith of old. They couldn't contain Cummins. He deserved a 50. He played really well, some of the shots that he did. Um, but let's talk about Mohammad Siraj. Like, I just have a bone to pick with him right now. Because what's going on? It seems like he's fallen off this entire tour so far, and there's not much consistency. He's not getting wickets consistently either. He seems to be getting in bursts. Like it seemed like he was coming back to form in the last Test match, and then this Test match, 23 overs, 122 runs, just the three maidens, economy of 5.3.
No, it's extremely disappointing, and you kind of see that throughout the Test series as well. Like, initially starting off, he was the secondary bowler following Jasprit Bumrah. Now he's fallen to third, and if you look at this past innings, very disappointing. And I think he had, at least 12 runs, three fours of buys, and buys of trying to hit back of the length. It just wasn't working for him. his mind wasn't there, or it's perhaps an issue related to just in terms of his fitness. He's playing a lot. He had that series in India as well, and now the series in Australia. So he's been playing a lot. Maybe it's that, but I think if he doesn't perform well in the second innings, it's definitely it's easier for now for India to take a look at another bowler for the Sydney Test match, because it's just been extremely disappointing to see Mohammad Siraj play this way.
Yeah, I think the second innings is going to be key for him because if he doesn't do well in that innings, I think he's going to be dropped for the fifth match, and we might see a new face coming in. But yeah, it was disappointing. His bowling was definitely disappointing. Overall, what was your thought when Australia got to 474?
No, it was similar to what you mentioned earlier on. I think it
Yeah,
was 7,400 too many, and it is a formidable total. And at that point, your immediate thoughts are, okay, we need a good opening stand. We need a sort of a stand that Australia had. Get to 100 for one. Get to 100. In a good day without any wickets. You were hoping for something like that, especially for that sort of score. Because then the ball is seen off a little bit. The ball gets a little bit older, a little bit more easier to hit. But yeah, I think overall though, at the intermission, it did feel like Australia had the upper hand because it was 100 or 75, a little bit over
yeah,
in my eyes.
yeah. I agree there, and it all depended on the way India started. And so out comes Captain Rohit,
Whoa, what
or
happened here? What happened
maybe
here? What happened?
maybe we should call him Captain No Hit because he's not making any. He can't even buy a run right now. Like his dismissal was just so embarrassing to watch. It's like when you play cricket, gully cricket, and the tennis ball just jumps a bit too high for you, and you're like, oh, I can't adjust that. It felt
Ah,
like one of those.
no, it was really, really disappointing. How was your reaction to see him open up? I know there was talks of him potentially coming in a little bit later, but with the changes, we did anticipate him opening up, and he actually did, and he didn't perform. How do you view that?
I think it was forced just because of the fact that they left out Gill. So who's going to play at one down? And I think we talked about this in the last podcast. I don't see any of the batsmen batting one down other than KL Rahul. No one else. You could play a makeshift one down, but that I felt like no one is better suited for that than KL Rahul in this lineup, right? It can't have Rohit come in one down for sure. And so I felt Rohit opening was, you know, it's funny to say it this way, but it's almost like it's a lottery ticket. If he comes off, amazing. If not, whatever. KL Rahul's coming in, he would have opened anyways, right? Which we shouldn't be saying that
No.
because like you would do that for a pinch hitter or a night watchman, right? Shout out to Akashdeep, he tried. But it felt like it feels like you would say that to someone like that, not your captain, right? And he's that out of form.
Yeah, no, my thoughts exactly, and I know it's the first innings of two, and everyone says a proper test match you got to look at all of the innings to make a good assessment. But looking at strictly this innings, it was a failed experiment, if you want to call it, and they should have perhaps kept the same batting lineup as previously, in my eyes. To your point, I agree with you from the last match. They didn't increase their batting lineup; they actually shortened it. And you saw that with the early wickets. It did add extra pressure on the Indian top order, middle order, and unfortunately, just a very, very poor opening stand from Rohit Sharma.
Yeah, he needs some clarity. I don't know what he needs to do. Do some yoga, meditation, go spend some time with your newborn child. I don't know what he needs to do, but he seems like his mind is cluttered when he's
Do,
batting. And I
do
think
you
that's
think?
bleeding into his captaincy too.
Do you think just on Rohit Sharma that perhaps there is a possibility he needs to look at opening up similarly to how he does in 20, in the sense that not at that pace, but quote unquote baseball style of go for his shots, and if he gets out, he gets out, because at this point he's getting out as he's getting out. So you might as well try getting out, hitting a six or hitting your shots. Do you think there's any merit for Rohit Sharma to maybe flip his mental that way?
I don't know. I don't know. He just looks lost at the moment. I think he's caught in between how to play. I think he needs to pick one style. Like, how are you going to approach this game and be clear about how he's going to approach, how he plans around his scoring shots for each bowler, things of that nature. I don't think he has clarity on that. That's at least from outside looking in. That's what it looks like when you're watching him. Like even just the way he's taking his stance and things like that, it just seems very
Nervous
like this
energy,
is,
right?
yeah, it's just nervous energy. Like there's no confidence about anything that he's doing. And you contrast that with Jaiswal, who is under pressure, but you see him walking up to the boulders, taking a couple steps forward. He changed some of his technicalities, but he seemed clear in his thinking. You see that with Kohli, the way he batted. He seemed clear on, I'm gonna leave everything outside fourth or fifth stump, whatever, right? And he left it alone. They seem to be clear on their plans, but Rohit just isn't. He just doesn't seem clear around that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's a shame that he's at the tail end of his career and this is what we're seeing. But we hope that in the second innings something blossoms out of him opening up because right now it's just not looking good.
Yeah, he's got 3 innings to make something. Because if he doesn't do anything in the next 3 innings, there's going to be a lot of pressure for his spot in the team. Like there's going to be a lot of calls. Everyone's going to be talking about it, not just amateur fans, but the old heads
Yeah, Sunny
on
G.
TV. Sonny G is already on him. Ravi Shastri is going to be on him. Harshavali. There's already chatter. There's already chatter about, hey, it's twilight of his career. If he doesn't make anything in the next 3 innings, like, do you still carry him forward for the next big series, which is coming up literally in like 6 months in England? I don't know. I don't know. So the next 3 innings are going to be crucial for him, not only as a captain, as a batter, for his spot in the team. Like he is under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, no, couldn't have said it better myself. So yeah, unfortunately, not a good start from Rohit Sharma at this Test match. In comes KL Rahul, and he looked pretty good. He looked pretty
Man,
solid,
yeah,
right? What were your
yeah.
thoughts?
KL Rahul looks like $1 million right now. Talking about such a drastic change from when you watch Rohit come to the crease and you watch KL Rahul come to the crease. When you see the replays of his drives, it technically looks perfect. And he got a peach of a delivery. That's unplayable.
Yeah,
That's a dream ball as a bowler. I'm a right arm medium dibbly doubler myself. And I've gotten dismissals like that a few times. Man, it's no better feeling when you beat a batsman's defense when he has no clue that that's gonna happen. And there's nothing he could have done about that. But KL Rahul himself in that brief innings looked really good, and I felt like his innings helped Kohli then in his innings because he was able to. I think he got out around the 17th or 18th over,
yeah, I think it was
and
just before
so
the 20th.
yeah, yeah. So the ball was beaten down enough for Kohli to get himself in, 15 overs in. So get himself in, and we'll talk about that partnership. But yeah, KL Rahul, very good innings.
Yeah, no, peach of a delivery, and I think Cummins, he always ends up doing that in one of his spells. He'll bowl that peach of a delivery that can get a set batsman out, and it did look like Gil Rahul was really set for a big score. And he's looked really good throughout the series. So yeah, unfortunate for him, but yeah, in comes King Kohli with Jaiswal, and things were looking good for a little bit.
Things were looking rosy and shiny, and India was looking like they're gonna get to the end of day's play, 2 down, set up for another big day on day three, where just pile up the score, maybe get close to Australia's target. It looked like that, but as they say in Test cricket, you just need a small passage of play, and the game changes just like that. And that's the beauty of the game. Again, as a cricket fan, amazing to watch. As an Indian fan, not so amazing to watch.
No, and I was watching that. I was watching that part of play live, and I remember distinctly Michael Vaughan came on commentary for that over, and he said that, oh, the game is swinging in India's direction, but Australia always find a way to get something the last half hour. And in that same over, the worst sin of all happens: a run out. Taran, did you see any blame on that? What were your thoughts on that?
So I watched the highlights, and I watched some conversations around it too. When the ball goes past the non-striker and the bowler, it's the batter's sorry, it's the batter's call.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the non-striker has to turn around to look at the ball. So from that perspective, Kohli should have just trusted Jaiswal and gone for it. Would it have, who knows what would have happened? At that moment in time, it seemed like it would have been a tight single. But I
Yes.
feel like Jaiswal was already at the other end, so he would have reached. And if Kohli just trusted Jaiswal, put his head down and just put the jets on and got there, I think he would have got there. Maybe he puts in a dive, right? Overall, the single was risky, but I think if Kohli trusted Jaiswal, he would have made it. And we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this run out right now, potentially. So that's my take on it. Now, there's other people saying that there was some justification there, but I don't see it. I felt like Kohli should have just trusted Jaiswal's call and gone for it, because in the coaching manual, or as you grow up learning about how to run between the wickets, whenever the ball passes the non-striker or the bowler, it's the batter's call.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that as well. I think I sympathize a little bit more with Kohli, just in the sense that, to your point, it was a very tight single. And the ball didn't go past Cummins, and it was actually on Cummins' right-hand side, so easy throwing for him. I see the perspective of, the danger end was the end that Jaiswal was running towards.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
I 100% see that. But, I think this is where, you see the difference between experience versus a little bit of inexperience, in the sense that it's a last half-hour play, and Jaiswal, mind you, just hit a four the previous ball, so there was really no room for runs, and you didn't really have to go for runs in the last half-hour play. That was more for survival, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, it was tight. And I think Kohli just didn't want to risk anything tight in that passage of time, right? So again, I think it's very tough to blame it on one person individually. I think they
Yeah.
both were part of it, but I do sympathize with Kohli, just in the sense that, if you look at the time of the play, if you look at the context, it was tight, and why risk something for such a marginal value at that time of play? Again, just my thoughts, but it doesn't really matter what my thoughts are. It was out, and that really looked like it changed the momentum throughout the remainder of the day.
That's a really good take. That's a really good take. I can get with that. That makes sense. Jaiswal didn't need. Yeah, if you go to the root cause, Jaiswal shouldn't have made that call to begin with, right? Because that makes complete sense. The last 30 minutes, why are you trying to risk a single at that time? Yeah, it could be inexperience, could be nervous energy, getting close to 100, right? So yes, if looking back now, probably Jaiswal shouldn't have made the call. But given the experience, maybe Kohli should have just responded to it and been like, okay, he called it. I can try to make it, because you lose a lot of time looking at the ball.
You do.
You lose a lot of time, right? So yeah, maybe it's not fair to blame anyone here. Just miscommunication, and we'll never know what could have been now.
It's just, I feel like those tight singles when the ball goes to mid-on or mid-off are always the ones where the batsmen just get that miscommunication in terms of, oh, I can get there, I can get not. Those are always, in my eyes, a little bit tight. And, I think India has had the short end of the stick for those plays, because I think it's happened a few times before as well.
Yeah, and looking at just the mentality at that point, yeah, I feel like, why are you trying to get a quick single at that moment in time? It's not like, who was bowling? Was it Stark bowling?
I think it was Boland.
I don't think Jaiswal was troubled by the bowlers at that time. He was batting so well.
He looked
right?
so great.
Right. So generally, when you're looking for a quick single, you're trying to get off strike because maybe the bowler's troubling you, or you're trying to, mess up their line and length by getting off strike. So now they got a plan for the other batsman, right? And that's generally why they say it's so important to rotate the strike. But again, at that moment in time, was it needed? I don't know. I don't think so. Thinking about it now, yeah.
It's unfortunate, though. But then, yeah, the run out happens. Jaiswal, unfortunately, has to go back to the pavilion. And India sent out Akash Deep as a night watchman for the last 24 minutes. So a little bit of an extended time for a typical night watchman. I think he did as best as he could with I think 10 deliveries he faced, 10, 12 deliveries.
So I actually feel they should have sent Mohammad Shahid.
Really? Okay, yeah. Okay. Let me hear this take.
Yeah, so or even Bumrah. I think that Akash is deep. Akash is deep. Akash Deep's attacking game is better than his defensive game.
Yes, I agree with that.
So when you're sending a night watchman, you want someone with at least half decent defense. Think about Ishan Sharma. This guy could block the ball. He couldn't do
Yes,
shit, but he could block the ball, right? So Bumrah can block the ball. Siraj, he can probably get behind the line of the ball. Akashdeep's strength is his attack, his ability to hit
he's a
sixes and
slogger.
fours. He's a slogger. I'd rather him coming at down the order, give you 20, 30 runs, quick runs, right? Like he did in the last match. So I felt that they should have sent either Siraj or Bumrah. Bumrah would have been a good night watchman to send too.
Yeah, you know what? I like that take because you did see that as well, and I looked at some of the highlights as well with like Ashdeep. It was that nervous energy because he tried surviving, and to your
Yeah,
point, I think he's
that's
better
not his
suited.
game.
Yeah, and to your point, I think he is better suited for the lower order where you need those 20, maybe 24 runs of runs at the end for that momentum switch,
Hmm.
right? That they were able to get last test match. So no, I agree with that take. But then yeah, he wasn't able to survive, and then in comes Punt, right? It's Punt, right? Yeah, Punt comes in with
Yeah, yeah, and our hopes are on Punt and Jadeja. Punt is due a big innings. He's had a tough time this tour. No, he's kind of like shout out to TGC in the other batsman's slipstream. He's kind of like not been talked about
yes,
because of the failures of Rohit Sharma and the pressure on Kohli always scoring. He's kind of like went under the radar. I think he's due for a big innings. Like his last big innings that I can think of was the first innings where he made a difference in Perth, the first innings in Perth, where his 30-40 odd helped India get to what turned out to be a good score. Um, but since then, he hasn't really done much. So he's due. And one thing about the Night Watchman that gives me something to relax about is, yeah, it says 5 down, but at least we know that that fifth wicket is not a batsman, it's
yeah.
Akash.
No, I agree. I agree. It does look a little bit worse than it is. And to your point on Punt, yeah, he's due for an innings, and he set a benchmark for himself, especially last time he was in Australia, and he just hasn't lived up to that yet. But again, that's yet, right? The series isn't over, and this is a very important innings. If he is able, I think him and Juddu had put up a 200 plus partnership in the West Indies. I feel, and if they're able to do something similar here, where they put up that stand of, some hefty runs between them both, that could, put India in a competitive situation where, the draw could go for a positive result for India or even a draw, which in my eyes, if they bat long enough, could be a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And the MCG is not a typical Australian wicket. So you don't get that extra bounce like you do in Perth or Brisbane, the Gabba, any of those wickets. So this is more subcontinental friendly than any of the pitches they're going to get. This and the Sydney pitch. So they should feel more at home playing here. And so I can see them scoring runs. It's just a matter of them actually doing it. And yeah, if they are able to put up a good partnership, because the next 34 overs are key before the second
Yes.
new ball, I think, right? So 34 overs, you stitch a partnership together, don't lose another wicket. You put up, let's say, 3-4 and over, score about 120 in the next 34 overs, get closer to that 300 mark, and then find a way to get as close to Australia as you can,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If Australia, if you give a lead of less than 100, I think you're in with a chance because
Yes.
you never know what Bumrah can do, and
Exactly.
hopefully the Indian bowling tightens up some more. And so maybe you're in with a chance of restricting Australia to somewhere below 300, and now you're looking at chasing 150 to 200, which again can go either way, but it's better than chasing 300 or 400.
Yeah, no, and that's worked well for India in the past. Where in the second innings, if they're able to restrict the opposition to a less than par total, you do, we've talked about the many struggles of the Indian batsmen, but if they're chasing like a 250 or 240 with maybe, I'm trying to see, tomorrow would be day 3, right? Yeah, so if they're chasing, 250 across a day or day and a half, that should, then you would, if you're a betting person, perhaps bet on India in that time, right? So, it could be a very competitive game, but to your point, it does really depend on the first 34 overs of the next day's play.
Yeah, this is why I feel Australia getting to 474, which is 7,500 runs more than what I've liked them to get to, it comes into play because then India doesn't have to they don't have to score as much now, right? So now they're trying to just get through the follow on first. But
Yes.
then if they're able to get to within reach, like keep around a 75 lead, and I know I messed up earlier. I said get Australia under 300. They would have to get Australia under 200
Yeah.
to have a target of under
Of
300,
under
right?
300.
Like you
Yeah.
said, like a 250-ish target, which would be chaseable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's India's best bet right now. But,
Mhm.
big responsibilities on the middle lower order. Pant is due for runs, and hopefully Jadeja can keep his form from the last Test match.
Yeah, and hopefully we get something out of Nitish Kumar Reddy and Washi. I know it's big,
Washi,
yeah, a big ask for those two, but they've been in decent form, so who knows?
yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a very interesting day up ahead, and I think whatever happens at the end of tomorrow's play will give us a better clarity on where the Test match is going. Because right now, I think it can go either way.
Yeah, day three is always the moving day, as they say. So that's a great segue into slog sweep. So what do you expect to happen, or what do you want to happen?
Oh, I think I think to your point, what I want to happen, I want to see Punt with 100. I do want to see Punt with 100 because I think if Punt is able to get 100, in my eyes, that's a momentum shifting 100. Just the way how
Mm-hmm.
Punt is able to play, he'll go attacking. He'll look at momentum changing shots. He'll look to force the batters out of their plans and out of their lines and lengths. So if he's able to go big, I think it'll be a destructive big for Australia that could potentially lead to some momentum shifting on day three. So what I really want to see is Punt go big, man. You got a chance to really show yourself. So my money's on Punt.
All right, so I get a feeling we're gonna see a game changing innings from Nitish Kumar Reddy.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think I don't know about 100, but I think we might see like a 70 or an 80. He's gotten starts. He should feel confident on this wicket to score runs. And I think we may see a solid 70, 80. He puts up like 100, 150 partnership with someone, whoever is there on the other end.
Please.
And I can see India getting to around 380 to 400. If they can get around there, keep that lead under 100,
Yes.
we're in with a shot.
Yeah, no, keep that lead under 100, and that'll give momentum at least to the Indian bowlers to pull up their socks and really try getting Australia out for a subpar total.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. So we can't wait for day three, the moving day as always. That's a great place to end it. That's it for today. That stuffs.